Welcome to the Monopoly Mindset, the podcast where we uncover the strategies to build your real estate portfolio one property at a time.
We're your hosts, Tyler and Tommy, here to share our story of playing real-life Monopoly.
Whether you're just starting out or a seasoned investor, this is your go-to resource for mastering the real estate game.
So grab your board, roll the dice, and let's buy Boardwalk together. Welcome back to the Monopoly Mindset, episode 40. We're coming up on the end of the year. We got 40 episodes out this year, so we're pretty happy about that. Last week we had a really cool guy on, Mike Marchman, who is really killing it right now in real estate. He's a lawyer and a veteran, so go check that out. He's got some pretty cool tips, especially like using the VA loan, which was pretty interesting, and how he got through his first flip. But
Mike's also a wealth of knowledge. If you ever have any questions, I mean, everybody that we have on this podcast is going to be typically a friendly person that you can reach out to and ask questions about their story or how to get started. I mean, obviously, you can always reach out to Ty and myself, but Mike's another great contact to reach out to for any questions you might have about real estate.
Yeah, Mikey Smooth 11. So I don't know how active he is on his Instagram, but anyway, we're gonna get into another round of pass and go, and we got some pretty good news again this month or this week. So why don't you go ahead and kick us off with your appraisals?
Real estate's been great for me. I've been like riding this high in real estate. I feel like I haven't had in a couple years. It's been a lot of like going through the trenches, but we finally got a property under contract. TDJ has been working on getting 65 East Overbrook under contract for a while here. We were very excited to get an offer, and I just want to shout out our realtor, Noah. He did a really good job. And sometimes realtors, I find, just post something or get like the pictures and they just post it on Zillow and like it get views and people can go check out the property. Noah was actually at a closing table with a realtor and said, "Hey, for a different property," and asked them specifically if they had anybody that could want a house in Dallas. And she ended up saying, "I have somebody." And they set up a showing there at their closing. And the gentleman that then looked at the house put in the offer that we were able to accept. So I think that's a really good job by Noah, like being a really good realtor. I don't hear too many stories of realtors doing that. And so I thought that was a really cool story to highlight and shout out. From there, the offer wasn't as high as we would have liked. We got an offer for 240. We had it listed for $245,000. The offer came in at $225,000, and we were able to negotiate a little bit and get it up to $230,000. So we were relatively happy with that. We still made a decent amount of money from the closing and whatnot. So the other cool part was they waived inspections. So we were a little bit more excited that we wouldn't have maybe something come up that could delay the closing. Unfortunately, they did want termite inspections, and we did mention before we did have termites there, or activity or signs of termites that we did get treated. Unfortunately, when they got their termite inspection back, it showed signs of termites, which they were there, but we already got them treated. And so I called my guy and I'm like, "Yo, like you treated for termites and we basically just failed a termite inspection. Like, what the heck?" And he's like, "Well, you should have told the termite guy that it was already treated, because he's gonna see the same stuff I saw, but then I treated it. And he can't see like the foam and the stuff that we sprayed on it. There's snow on the ground, so he can't see the traps out front. But like your property has been treated. It's good to go. If you guys want me to come through and spray it again for shits and giggles, I can do that. But like you're good to go." And I'm like, "All right." So then
I
we
have
ended
a couple questions for you. So one, did they ask for anything back, or did they ask for like money off or anything?
So I don't know, dude. My heart sank yesterday. So like, we're gonna pass this with flying colors, and then I get this text like, "Yo, we failed the termites," and I'm like,
Well, so
"What?"
I had the same kind of scenario happen, but from the buyer's perspective. One, I talked about this a lot when I was buying my current house that I'm sitting in, is like we waived inspection, but asked for the termite inspection, and then that allowed us to actually ask for money back towards closing after we already got the contract accepted. But Same kind of thing where we had like signs of termites, and like we had the marks on the walls, basically the nest that they build like vertically up the wall. But when my contractor took the walls, the drywall out and did the remediation, he was like, there was no active termites. There was just signs of damage, but it looks like to me that it had already been remediated, and the signs are still there. They didn't like fix the walls, but there are no alive termites at the moment. So that might be same situation that you got yourself into.
Yeah, I mean the damage was there, and the guy did his job correctly, showing that the damage was there and that there was the signs. So it makes sense, but ultimately it seems that they just wanted to get it treated. So they didn't really ask for anything additional. They just said, please treat it. And so we said, hey, it's been treated. Here you go. So Noah and the other realtor were talking. They think everything's going to be fine. The closing scheduled for January 26th, and they think we're actually going to be able to do an earlier close. Nothing is 100% confirmed, so I'm still a little bit like, hey, I just need this final text message to come in so I can feel better. But I think it's going to work out. I think we're going to close, and it'll be really cool to get that property sold out of our portfolio. And just really, our plans for the money are to put it back into the company, have a higher, like we talk about it sometimes, you want to have roughly $5,000 per property in expenses saved up. And so that'll put us at like 4.5 properties because we're still waiting for 20 Richards to officially be sold. And so to, take some of these profits, leave roughly $25,000 in the company account so that we can handle expenditures whenever they come up, or repairs is first and foremost our number one plan. I think we're going to give ourselves like $2,000 each out of the money, and the rest of it's mainly just going to sit in the account. And maybe we'll do some repairs. We've talked about painting Machel at some point to make it look a little bit nicer, and just cleaning up some of our properties too, doing some deferred maintenance, but just taking care of it, in advance while we have some of this extra money. So that's really our plan. We're super excited. TDJ's been on a I mean, the company's been good, but it feels like we've just been scraping pennies together for like a year and a half. It'll be really nice to have a solid amount of money in our bank account. So that was really positive. And
You
then,
guys have, I'm assuming, what did you buy it for? And do you have like any plan to try and mitigate taxes, or are you just gonna pay the capital gains?
yeah, so we bought it for $90,000 back
Wow.
in 2018. Yeah, it was crazy. I still remember the day that I saw it listed, and I'm like, under 100,000. This is absurd. And there's actually a road that I would drive from Dallas to Clark Summit, where I was living at the time, where I wouldn't have service. I remember parking at the last spot on the road that I had service, and just calling Dan and Jeff like frantically until one of them answered and said, guys, we're putting an offer in on this house right now. And so then I called like our loan guy. We got a loan, an offer, and we ended up putting an offer in on the property. And it was a quirky close. The woman that was living there, she was a hoarder. The house was filled with stuff. That's the main reason it was listed low. Plus, she was on a waiting list to move into a retirement home. So when we went under contract, we didn't end up buying the house until like 7 or 8 months later. It was a very slow period of time to move in there. So all those factors helped us. I mean, the house was probably worth like 120 or something at the time, but all those other little factors gave us added benefit.
Yeah, that's cool. So I know, you bought it at 90. Let's say your original loan was like, we'll just say 65, 70. You put down 20%. But then in that amount of time, in the last 7 years, at some point, you did a cash out refinance. So your loan now, I don't know, let's just say 170, 140, whatever.
Yeah,
So
170. We
you
are like 170
basically,
right now.
so then you must have cashed out a ton of money. So
We
you
cashed
bought this
out
one.
twice. Yeah.
Yeah, twice, and probably both times you were able to buy a property with that cash out. So you bought a place, let's say $90,000. Let's say you each put down what, $7,000, $8,000 into the deal. That deal within 7 years got you two other properties. So you cashed that property out because you built equity. So now you have three properties, and now you're gonna sell it and walk away with $60,000. So you each put in, you put in 25, we'll say just 20, probably 20. Closing costs
Yeah,
are cheap. Put in
20's fine.
20,000. You got two other houses, and you're walking away with 60, which sounds like an absolute win. Even though you're not getting, you're getting 230 instead of the 250 that you wanted. But overall, it's still an insane return in 7 years. Now, again, I always like to caveat these stories with COVID appreciation. Like that's not always going to happen, but you know that's what happened in 7 years. And
And the
if you
thing
would
was,
have put that
it was already a good deal to your point, and COVID
right,
then just injected more to it and made it a phenomenal deal. But it was still a really good deal.
and if you would have put that money in the S&P 500, the average is double every 7 years, so you would have had 40 grand. Instead, you have 60 grand and two other houses. So that's awesome.
And you're talking about 20 grand as a company, so that'd be three people investing 20 grand to get to 40. In reality, it'd be my 7-ish grand for that property. So my 7 would be like 15 maybe if it doubled. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, it's the power of real estate, though. So, congrats. Hopefully, everything goes through. That you did have an offer, and they had an inspection, and something came back that they didn't like, so they backed out. But yeah,
it was
hopefully
mainly the
everything goes
termites the
well.
first time, so that's why we were, nervous about the termites. It was the buyer just saw termites and freaked out. We're like, "Hey, we'll treat it. Like, don't worry, it'll be okay." And they were like, "Termites, no," ran away.
Yeah. Danielle wasn't a fan either, just because like in her mind it's a bug, so she thinks that there's like bugs in our like everywhere in our house, and it's like they're like microscopic and like they're in the studs. They're not like in your furniture, but
They kind of just look like ants for the most part too, like flying
yeah, I mean
ants.
the biggest issue is they destroy your foundation and can like
Yeah,
they can do serious harm to your house if you let them go for a while, but
yeah,
they're really not that big of a deal. Like my remediation was $2,600 and we had the seller pay for it. So
yeah. And your house is much bigger than ours. Ours is much smaller, and they were only in the front of the house, so it was only like 50. I think it was only $1,500 to get ours remediated.
yeah.
Um, So another saga that I've been working on for a long time, been discussing ties, poked holes, helped me delay. I think I'm in a really good spot now though. I went to do some appraisals to see if I could finally pull some cash out of 267 and 63 Maplewood. And I came up with a different strategy in the sense that I talked about TDJ trying to get some appraisals done a couple months ago, and they didn't come back favorable. And like, I don't know what to really do because I thought that these properties should come back at their Zillow estimates, and they didn't. And now I'm kind of stuck. I just paid $700 for this appraisal that I didn't like. And I remember that there was an appraiser that we used on a different property several months ago, maybe a year ago, and they came in kind of more in line with what we were expecting. So I reached out to Dom from Burr.com, who we've had on the podcast a couple of times, and I said, "Hey, is there a chance that we can get this appraiser added to like your portfolio of appraisers?" And he reached out and was able to get that appraiser added. We paid for the appraisal. That appraiser went out. I put together a really nice spreadsheet. My realtor kind of laughed at me because sometimes they think that we're doing too much, in a sense that that's like their job is to come up with those appraisal reports and what a property is actually going to be worth. But I put a comparison together of three properties that I thought were very similar to my property and put in what I wanted for the numbers. The 63 Maplewood, I wanted 300,000. It ended up coming in at 295,000. So I was very, very excited about that, to be within 5 grand of like what I wanted. And then 267 Overbrook came back at 230,000, and I put in for 225,000. So I was $5,000 off, but in like a positive way. I was happy that it was worth more. So overall, the number that I thought I would get, I got the collective number. Just 5 grand difference between the properties. So I'm very happy. That gives me a 75% loan to value on like a cash out between those two properties, roughly $116,000 that I'll be able to pull out, and then I'll have to pay the fees for the loan and whatnot. So I'm anticipating 5 to 10 for that. So anywhere from like 100 to 105, I should be able to pull out in a cash out refinance, which to Ty's point is like what I've done at 65 East Overbrook and other properties in the past, using that money I have one loan that I want to pay off, and then the rest I'll probably use to put into a property and continue to grow my portfolio from there. So I'm very excited, just going through the final stages here with Dom and his team, and they've been excellent to work with. And it was very very fun real estate week because I haven't had those types of great news in a long time. So it's been pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a lot of money. Again, just like what we said about Overbrook is like over time these properties build equity, and then you can do the cash out refinance to buy another property. So, do you know? I'm guessing you didn't lock an interest rate in, but do you know about what your interest rate will be?
Sometimes it's odd, especially like with time involved. I don't think I locked it in, but this is where I was like almost giving credit to Ty because I almost tried to do this when rates were 7%, like 6 months ago, 4 months ago, and Ty was like, "Hey, why don't you wait? Rates are going to keep dropping a little bit." And I was like, "I don't know if they'll drop." Like Ty, I think was hoping more for 5% rates. I'm like, I don't know if they're going to get to that, but I think Ty ultimately was right. They did drop continuously into the end of the year. And so I should be right around 6.1, six and a quarter, which is
Actually, sorry to cut you off. One thing I don't think we mentioned is the Fed did cut rates last week, a 0.25%. Again, as Dom will say, mortgage rates don't directly follow the Fed rate, but it is a good sign. It's trending in the right direction, and I'm hopeful that as the Fed continues to cut, mortgage rates will get down to into the fives would be ideal. And then I guess this is all like speculation, but the big banks kind of estimate uh, what they'll do next year, and I guess a majority of the banks, like Charles Schwab, Wells Fargo, whatever, think that they're going to cut rates two more times, so maybe another 0.5%. Which again, I'm kind of holding out to refinance. I can get into that as well, but um, yeah, they cut again. Which like, this one was kind of expected though. So like because it's expected, I believe that rates kind of drop. Like mortgage rates kind of drop in advance because they're expecting the Fed rate to drop. So that drop was kind of already like baked into the mortgage rate. So it's not again, we're not going to see like a 0.25% 30-year mortgage rate drop, but um, I think in the long run, it's good that the rate goes down versus staying the same or going up. But yeah, sorry, you said 6.1, 6.25.
6.1, 6.25. I don't have the final. It's the only thing I don't have yet is like the final document. We had like the preliminary documents, and then I was kind of like, well, let's just get the appraisals done because I don't know what anything is until these appraisals are officially done. So I
And
can
that's
ping
on
Dom.
a 30-year fixed DSCR
Yeah.
6.1. That seems really good because I mean that means that like a primary could be like 5.5 or 5.75 maybe. Like that's for DSCR, that's really good. Now that's 75% loan to value.
Yeah.
So you have to leave in 25% equity, but yeah, that's awesome.
Just the convenience, though, like we've talked about in the past, it is, what, like, I think a couple months ago, I could have gotten 6.1 through, and this is a 70% loan to value. So I'd have to leave 30% into the deal. But I could have gotten a loan for 6.1. And it's also a 20-year, and it doesn't include the taxes from like this commercial bank. I had that offer on the table. It might you might have liked that one a little bit better, just being the 20 years and a 6.1 rate. But I'm just for the that's actually a really good bank to work with. First Keystone is, but I'm completely fine going the DSCR route. I think
Yeah.
it's just so easy, and I'm content with the products.
I don't think I've been kind of mentioning this to you, but I haven't told you this recently. So I have a property. This is the one that I need to refinance, and I am kind of waiting, but I also have a prepayment penalty. So the longer I wait, my prepayment penalty goes down over time. But I have an 8.8% rate, 30 years. I'm literally getting like $1,000 a year in loan pay down. Like it's basically nothing. And even though I talk about like leverage, 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 take on as much debt as you can, with this specific property, I'm plugging in the numbers for 15 years, and one benefit of it is your rate goes down, let's say 0.5%. So like not only is way more money going to principal because it's a shorter term, your rate's also lower. So yes, am I in a position where like I still want to like use leverage, but I don't know, I'm plugging in the numbers for this 15 years, and the way that I kind of look at it is my payment won't change because I'm going from an 8.8 to, let's just say, 6% 15-year mortgage. My payment won't change, so my cash flow will stay the same. But my loan pay down goes from like $1,000 a year on year one to $10,000 a year on year one. So if you just look at it like maybe not cash flow, but $1,000 a month towards principal, that's kind of cash flow. It's not, it's not like
It's
accessible,
like
but
the
it,
direct savings account that we talk
yeah.
about.
And so I'm like, dude, I could just go refinance and go from $1,000 a year on loan on year one to $10,000. And that 10,000, like that seems awesome. So I'm really considering it for this property. I don't think I'll do that for all my properties, but it looks really enticing. And then I'm like, dude, uh we said this the other day, like if your goal is to retire in 15 years, put all your mortgages on 15 years. You don't have to do anything from now until then. So like I would be 44, this house would be paid off, and let's say rent's 3 grand. That's 3 grand a month, paid off house minus whatever expenses. But you know what I mean? 15 years, it sounds pretty enticing.
Yeah, it was a not odd, but it just like clicked. We're like, wait, if we just put all of our properties on 15-year mortgages, you'd theoretically be retired in 15 years and maybe not make
Yeah.
the cash flow, but
I think one thing that opened my eyes was, we always, again, we were all, and I still am, but like leverage, 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 like most debt you possibly can. But once the idea of the 50-year mortgage rate came out, I was like, I'm not going to leverage that much. Like, no, I don't want to wait 20 years before my loan starts getting paid down. Like, we did the numbers, and after 20 years, it was like nothing. I think that kind of made me realize, like, maybe you don't just want to get the longest possible rate. So, yeah. Yeah. But I'll probably have a mix, some 30 years, some 20 years, some 15. And as we've said 100 times, the more properties you have and the longer you're kind of in the game, the less risky you start to be. So,
and then like the other side of it too is running the numbers of, yeah, you have that one house, but depending on, I guess a 15 year, your cat, like if you still pull out enough cash, then it could be okay. But like one of the things is using the leverage that you can to buy another house. Like if you pull the cash out and you do nothing with it, that doesn't necessarily help your financial situation. But if you buy another house with it, now you have another house that's gaining equity in that loan pay down, even if they're both at a higher mortgage rate.
yeah. Unfortunately, on this property, I refinanced 2 years ago, and again, my loan pay down has been nothing in 2 years. So like,
Yeah, I told
I
you
don't.
before, I think that you should refinance that property.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah, the prepayment penalty is just, it would, like, right now it's like $6,000 I'd have to pay out of pocket just as a penalty. So I don't know if I want to wait till it's like 4,000 or what.
So because I have Machel is the same spot. It's like the 9% interest rate, and I've paid like no loan pay down in the last year and
Yeah,
a half that we've had it. I did not do a um I don't have any buyout for that loan. I just double checked it with that bank. So I can just refinance that one without a prepayment penalty. And I think I'm going to do that. Actually, with how well my portfolio just refinanced using this guy, I might have him reappraise most of TDJ's properties and go ahead and refinance them as well because we have a lot of higher rates when we did our properties. We kind of went at like the peak of the interest rate market. We don't have a ton of equity, so it's not really like a huge equity cash out play. It's more or less a like, hey, let's just fix our interest rates and save like we can almost save like $1,000 to $1,200 in interest a month by at least in our payments a month. They can drop. I don't know what the interest would be, but I gotta believe we'll almost have even better loan pay down starting over at a 6.2 versus an 8 or a 9.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, so we're kind of in the same boat, and I'm still gonna give it a little time because like I know that rates aren't just gonna shoot up 1% if I wait a little bit. Like if they start to go back up, you'll see it kind of gradually happen. So I'll have, if it goes up a quarter, I'll be like, oh shoot, is something happening? Like maybe I should jump on this. But
I got one quick question for you because I was actually talking to somebody and I won't put their name out there, but it's nice that we start getting phone calls and people like just from us posting on social a lot more. I find that I don't know if it happens for you, but I'm getting more people reaching out to me and like asking me questions. And so this gentleman's question the other day was, "Hey, I have a property. It's worth roughly $500,000. My loan is roughly $200,000. So he's got 300K in equity. His mortgage payment is roughly $1,000 a month, and with taxes, let's say 12 to 1,300. Then he's getting roughly 3,600 in rent. So he's making like a killing. He's making like 2 grand plus in cash flow a month. So it's like a really decent property. And so he was talking to me, and he's a person that would rather sell a property to get the equity out. Like he doesn't really understand like the cash out refinance type of market. And so he was like, "Well, you talk about this all the time. Like, what should I do? What would you cash this out and like pull the equity out and then like buy another property or two properties?" And I'm like, "Yeah,
with
I
the
would."
current rate,
That's the other problem. So it's a 2.9 interest rate.
all right, then he can't sell it. It's not even an option, in my opinion. Now, I don't know where the house is or anything like that, but he's got a 2.9% rate that he'll potentially never get again in his lifetime. So you might as well keep getting that loan pay down like aggressively fast. Now, you say he's making a killing, but if you look at return on equity, that's not that great
It's
when you have
actually not bad. The,
300,000
the
in equity.
return on equity, unless if I was typing in my numbers wrong, but it was saying he was making something might have been wrong, but like
You say
20,
cash flows what, like 1,000 a month?
no, like two. He gets
Okay.
3,600 a month, and his payments like 12, so it's like 2,400 a month.
All right, but let's say it's 2,000 after expenses and stuff.
Sure.
That's 24,000 a year, which is great. That's amazing, right? On one property, but over 300 grand, it's like less than 10%. So, yeah, I mean, I think we
But
both
it's
would
still
stick
like
to
8 or 9%. Like, and then I guess the point is if you refi, then you're going to drop to like a 1 or 2% rate of return on that property. But then you get 3 or 4 or 5 property because he says he wants to buy houses in the $200,000 range. I'm like, well, buddy, that's like 3 or 4 houses. So now you got like an extra 800 grand working for you
I
with
don't know that
low.
I would refi though, to be honest.
So you would keep it.
No, I would maybe try and get like a second mortgage or a HELOC. And so keep the 2.9 on the 200,000, but try and access the other 200,000 with a HELOC or a second mortgage or something.
And that's what I said to him. But I told him they're tougher to get on rental properties, and so he might be able to get a second mortgage or a HELOC, but the HELOC could be like 9, 10%, and then it becomes more of a blended rate. And I don't know, maybe 8%. But on a
I don't know. I mean, Prime's dropped a lot. Like Prime's down to 6.75, so I'd imagine he could get like close to Prime and or 7.5%. I mean, we just had that guy present that was like, oh, we offer HELOCs on all investment properties. They're not that hard. We do them all the time. So
Yeah, yeah. So I think something like that. That was the other option I gave him. As I said, there's other ways. You don't just have to get rid of that loan, but you have to factor in if you can get a 6% rate. And there was a gentleman I did some of these calculations with. But if you can get like a 6.2 right now, I get you're going from the 2.9 to 6.2. It's not great, but if you go from a 2.9 and then you pull out, another 200 at a 8%, like your blended rate could be a 5.5. And then it's like, does it make that much of a difference? I don't know. But to your point, if you're just going to pay interest only on a HELOC, that's a pretty darn good option too, because you won't be paying like any principal back, but it'll be, affordable to buy houses on it.
yeah, I don't think I would sell the house, and I don't think I'd refinance. Again, just leaving a 2.9 like just seems so difficult to me personally. So, um, all right. Anyway, yeah, we can talk offline about it. I'm interested of who it is, but so I had one bad thing, and then we'll get into the last thing we have to talk about. So I had a stupid sink clogged for the third time. I guess the water's not going down. And the first 2 times I had my handyman do it, and then I finally had a plumber do it. It was $400 and a few calls and texts on my Sunday. So, it's the one bad thing that happened, but oh well, $400. Hopefully, doesn't happen again, because it does keep clogging. But I never had an actual plumber come out and do it. So, just wanted to touch on that. And then we did have another great, I'm drawing a blank on the word. Great thing happened to us.
We are trying to get our properties rented out for next year. It was something that, like, kind of a mistake. I mean, when Ty and I bought our property, it was relatively late, and we anticipated the girls were going to stay another year. And then they kind of they just weren't, I guess, prepared to stay another year. Some girls were leaving, their plans were all up in the air, and we're like, well, we need to get this property rented. And we didn't end up posting it, I want to say, until like March. And we were very frantically like hoping
Yeah,
that
it
we
was like February when we found out that they weren't going to stay. So we got 7 people in there. We were supposed to do this extra bedroom. They ended up actually, only 6 kids are actually living there, but they've paid us the full amount of rent the whole time. So they said they wanted to stay, but they only have 6. And we kind of saw this coming. We talked before on the phone, and we were like, they're going to tell us that they only have 6. So they obviously didn't want to pay for 7 people, because in college it's like you kind of pay like per room in a sense. So we actually lowered the rent $250 a month, but we don't have to spend the money for the 7th bedroom. And they've been pretty good tenants. They pay on time every single month. They don't really ask us for much, and the rent that we were getting was really good. Actually, it's still really good. It was like insanely good. So we're going from like super good to still really good.
we were getting $500 a room, which was pretty standard, and we had 7 kids. So we were getting 3,500, and now we jumped it up to 540 a student. 5, right, or 520?
Yeah, 540.
540 a student. So we're getting more per student, and we also don't have to put, like, the bedroom is going to cost us 10 grand. So we don't have to put the extra bedroom in there, and we're getting 540 a month. So the total we're getting is 3,240 a month. So to Ty's point, like 260 later, but our mortgage is still roughly like $1,500. So we're in pretty good shape with this. It's still a really good deal, really good property. And I think part of me is happy that we didn't have to put the 7th bedroom in there, because I don't know if it would mess with the flow of the house too much, but it would definitely change the flow of the house, throwing in an extra wall and an extra bedroom, where now I think it flows a little bit better. So Ty and I can keep talking, but I'm not opposed to just keeping it as a 6th bedroom. But we'll see, next year after this lease is up in 2027 to 2028, what that looks like, and if we want to make any additional changes. But we're really happy we have one more tenant pending signature, and then this lease will be wrapped up, and our property will be taken care of for another year. And that's one thing that I didn't necessarily click in my mind in the real estate perspective of renting to college students, but Ty picked up on it right away. There's a lot more stress with getting your properties filled at certain times and making sure that they're constantly rented out for the following year. It's a lot compared to a single family rental. Like, one of our properties for TDJ, we switched it from a student rental to a single family, and this guy went in there and we just hit him up. Hey, you staying another year? He's like, yep. And like, I heard nothing from him since the day he moved in. Nothing. And only communication is, hey, you staying another year? Yep. I'll re-sign the lease for another year. And he's probably going to be there for another like 2 to 4 years. And it's like, sometimes you just get a family in there, you hear nothing. Simple, college students, it's, every year they're graduating, they're transitioning, and you got to get them to get with their friends and find you some tenants. And so one thing I've done to combat that is I offer $400 to a student if they can get me another property filled. And it works pretty well. I mean, $400 as a college student goes a long way. Maybe not as long as when Ty and I were in college. Buy a couple more cases of beer when we were in college than the kids can today. but it still goes a long way. And I have some kids that are being superstars and trying to help me rent out 2 to 3 properties. I have other kids that are like, hey, there's 4 guys living here today. We all want $100 each because the 4 of us helped find you tenants for next year. So it's going well. The kids are all on break right now, so they'll be back on the 20th of January. We're really trying to get the rest of our properties wrapped up. Mine specifically, I have Woodlawn. 5 girls are pretty much ready to go. They're waiting on me to make 2 edits to the lease. I spoke to one of the moms a couple days ago, and she wanted me to add some verbiage to the lease. So I'm going to do that. Should get that one signed and done, which I'm very pumped about. I'm getting the 5 people in there, the $2,500 a month. Ty knows that was big for me. Like, I bought that property, and as a 4-bedroom, it just doesn't get the numbers that I really wanted. But as a 5-bedroom, which it's got 5 bedrooms in there, I get a lot better cash flow numbers, and it makes the property like a really, really good deal. So I'm very excited about that. I have 63 Maplewood. The kids there got a new group of guys, so we should be good to go there. So we got some traction on some of my properties. TDJ's properties has got some feelers out there, so really going to hit it hard, when the kids get back January 20th, and try to get these rented out before the end of January, hopefully early February, and go from there. That'll be what we're working on next. So it'll be fun.
Yeah. To your point, the college return is really good. The cash flow is really good. But there is definitely an added level of stress because, as you mentioned, if you miss that window of like the semester, everything's like based on the school year. So single family, like there's just always constantly people looking for a rental. So it doesn't matter, if it goes vacant at any month day, there's people looking. But in college, like you miss that window, you're kind of screwed. And to your point, like you got 6 kids, but then their parents want to read the lease and do all this stuff. So you might have like 15 to 20 people for one house, like looking at the lease, asking you questions, blah, blah, blah. It can get a little bit stressful, but yeah, I think if you find the right kids and keep them and then they pass it down, it's worked out for us. So.
And I think one thing too is just buying the right house. And that's kind of why, I got rid of 65 East Overbrook, because it just felt like it wasn't the right house. Like Ty and I's house is freaking awesome. If I was a college kid, that's probably like the number one property I would want to live in. Like every room is massive. There's 2 to 3 bathrooms. There's huge closets. There's space outside. I mean, there's 2 kitchens. Like it's a really good house. And like I think the more good houses like that you can stack up in this market are houses that are going to continuously be rented. And so that's really what I've strategically changed my mind to, is like, if a house is struggling to rent, I want like what's wrong with that house and how can I find a better house that'll accommodate the kids. And a lot of kids now have more stuff and they have more clothes and they need more closet space, and so we're trying to find houses that accommodate that.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's all we have for the past couple weeks. So good luck with the sale and good luck with the appraisal. And see you next week.
All right, we'll see you next week. Thanks for tuning in.